few things that I wanted to discuss and which has kind of haunted me in the past and is basically the performance on the test day. I think I told you that I used to teach in time earlier, like, and I
Hmm.
started doing that because just to prepare myself. One thing that came out of discussion, like as a conclusion, was, and it was a series of this thing that my performance on exam days goes down. I'll not hide behind the fact that I'm not anxious, but I become anxious during as the exam gets closer. Like now, I want to address this problem at the root.
When it comes to the fear of the exam altogether, Yogit, it's a common thing, and especially when the stakes are high, performance dips. And you would have seen throughout the classes also, one of the things that I emphasize is that your accuracy should be as close as possible to 100% in your preparation phase, because there's bound to be a drop on the day of the exam. So you know that the higher it is in the preparation phase, and even if there's a 10-15% drop, your score is still going to be fairly competitive. It's the actual exam which actually means everything. So since the stakes are so different, obviously your state of mind will be different, and we have to accept it before we can actually go about doing anything about it. What I mentioned earlier, that if there is going to be a drop, how do I tackle it? Now, one is you get behind the why. You talk to psychiatrists, you talk to therapists. I haven't done that, and I'm not a huge proponent of it. For me, I'm like, I don't care about the feelings and I don't care about intention. What I look at is the result, right? So if I aspire to be someone, I'm not going to look at, okay, this guy went through childhood trauma and therefore he's doing so well in his life because he learned from that trauma and that became his purpose and that's what is making him do the things he's doing. So that's not what I look at. What I look at is what are the actions that guy is taking. So if I want to be somebody, I'm saying just doing what he is doing in a way that is personalized to you will allow you to be able to move towards the goal that he or she has. That's been my go-to strategy, which has worked very well for me personally. That's why like expectation setting is a huge thing, right? When I say that, you don't expect yourself to score as well as you did in the mocks, that's a huge thing because it relieves a lot of pressure from you. And lastly, I believe, the more, because I had a fear of water initially, like when I was young. And I remember, like, the only way I could overcome it is by, pushing myself a little harder every single step. If I just set myself incremental targets and not lofty targets, it is much more easy for me to be able to conquer whatever it is I'm dealing with.
As you mentioned, are high, obviously. And one thing that I've grown up with is like after my 12th, I was in New Zealand. I was a pilot there. I completed all my exams. There are like 12 set of exams that you need to complete and minimum 70% that you need to get. This happened with GMAT also. I told you, like, obviously mock score से थोड़ा सा नीचे होना चाहिए performance. Not होना चाहिए, but generally that should be
Okay. Hmm.
yeah, होता है.
Failure is a part of the journey, and I believe failure is essentially something that you're supposed to learn from. So what happens is that if you fail and you don't learn, you will make that same mistake and that will become a pattern, and that pattern becomes a mental block. When I'm talking to people, they have had a past failure, what they do is, okay, no worries, I essentially bombed it, I'll take it next year without any change in strategy. They go ahead and take the exam next year, same result. Oh, no worries, it didn't happen, let me try again, I'll study harder. Study harder is not a strategy, right? Unless you feel that your lack of preparation was the reason why you were not able to score well, then yeah, study hard. But if you did study as hard as you possibly could and you did not succeed, and you're not willing to look at analyzing it, dissecting it, scrutinizing exactly what possible things could have led to that failure, there are a lot of things that are good that have happened in your life because that is what has made you who you are. And reflecting on things that are not in your control, I think, is just a waste of time. You essentially start working towards it and get there. But to come back to the root cause of the problem that you were talking about earlier, the fear of the exam, for that, I think you just need to ensure that you kind of have a slightly open mind about it. Sometimes what people say is that, you know what, I'm prepared to give the exam 3 shots. And when they give the first attempt, they feel I have to take it 2 times. I don't care how it goes because I have to take it again. And typically they end up outscoring their best performance in the first attempt itself because they weren't like pressurizing themselves to do so well on the first attempt itself. Like, I don't know if that's a psychology hack that you could use, but it is something that speaks to what I was telling you about, that you have to be relaxed on the day of the exam. No matter what the outcome, just perform to your best.
As you mentioned, smart versus hard work. I'm focusing on that this time. Last time I did a lot of hard work, putting in hours, was tracking and everything. But yeah, closer to the exam, I realized that my CR techniques, like I'm not getting accuracy that I used to get. Just focusing on that now, that I have to crack these things first.
So once your foundation is done, are you tracking your accuracy because that's the next thing in line? After accuracy, are you tracking your time because that's the next thing in line? Then after tracking your accuracy and time, then you focus on mocks and see exactly, are your scores improving in every single mock? Are you analyzing them well enough? Like I mentioned earlier, where you're looking at a mistake and you're asking yourself at least why 3 times. So that would help you to be able to improve from where you are a lot faster.